T-minus 90 seconds and counting. All systems are go. We're about 90 seconds from the launch of Space Shuttle Discovery. T-minus 60 seconds and counting. We are transferring to orbiter internal power at this time. Discovery is now running off its 3 onboard fuel cells. Coming up on a go for auto sequence start. And we have a go for auto sequence start. Discovery's onboard computers have primary control of all the vehicle's critical functions. T-minus 17 seconds and counting. 15, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, start, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery, returning to the space station, paving the way for future missions beyond.
Onboard computers commanding the main engine nozzles to swivel, aiming the shuttle for its precise target in space for main engine cutoff.
Dan, you sound good.
Discovery Houston, negative return.
Good morning. Welcome to AMC and ADD, where we buy, hold, and screw the hedgie.
On 1 minute.
1 minute.
All right, guys, we have breaking news. I just got a notification that there is a new filing by AMC on SEC, so let's check it out. Let's come over here and look at their filings. First, let me get rid of the tally marks. Congratulations to all three of us. Yesterday, we nailed our price tallies, and I was right on the volume as well, coming in quite nicely between 50 and 70 million. Let's see here. What do we have for filings? Okay, so they filed an 8K. Let's see. Oh, okay. I stand corrected. So this is the results from the vote. There was, look at that, guys, 110 million votes. Okay, so these numbers are not adding up to anywhere close to 400 million. Interesting. On the proposals, it doesn't say anything about proposal 5. They're not saying as to whether or not proposal 5 was voted for or against. But it appears that 2 had 4 votes for all 3 of the board members to be administered as board members for the next term. There was about as many. It looks like Mr. Locke definitely didn't have very many votes for, but there was actually, it looks like Adam J. Sussman had the least amount of non-votes against him, or withheld votes. He got the most. But I mean, simple math. Let's just look at these numbers, right? Let's just add this up here. That's only 265 million votes. And I would imagine that if I add up all the votes for the ones down below, it's going to be the same. So what does this mean? Does this mean that we have way less amount of shares owned than we thought? Yeah. I'm not sure what to make of this. Let me just read through some of the stuff that they have up here. Okay, so they didn't submit proposal 5 to adjourn the meeting because they didn't really feel that they needed to because they took out proposal 1. Okay, so this is going to create a lot of FUD. This is really gonna create a lot of FUD that there's not nearly as many that we don't own the float. But I don't believe that's the case at all. So it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds as to how this is explained or talked about. I didn't think that they would actually release the actual amount of votes, but they did. Because based on this, there's only 265 million votes. Yeah, that's going to be big news today. We're going to have to watch out for that. Okay, looking at the amount of shares. Looks like Stonko Tracker is kind of reporting a little bit differently here. So they're showing in block of time now. They're reported every 30 minutes. That's trading volume. Okay, so this is trading volume per 30 minutes. So they're showing it volume over time, so you can kind of, I guess, see how volume's breaking down. So that's changed on here. Short exempt volume is back down a little bit. Let's see here. Let me pull up. Oh no, that's correct. Dark pool trading yesterday was down slightly again, 67.4%. So let me update my data. Let's see. We have short exempt volume at 303.6. Let me see if I've got utilization yet. I was right. 91.63. I figured it would be over 90% today for sure. 91.63. Yeah, that voting stuff is really gonna throw a major kink in people's day to day. There's no way that we don't own the entire float, and so why those voting numbers are so low is completely beyond me. Let's see, day over day price increase. We were down 1.98. Okay. And I'm going to have to mark that as red. Screenshot it. Excuse the screenshot for just a second. Okay. So that should be showing up on the screen here correctly now. As soon as I put the tallies back up, I'll put it up now. As you'll see, short exempt volume is at 303.6K. We need that to be at 300 million. That will really help us to shoot to the moon. Utilization is up to 91.63% overnight, jumping massively. I would consider that massively because we haven't seen a jump like that. Again, cannot stress enough that we need to go out to everybody, get everybody out there and figuring out whether or not they have, if they have their brokers lending out shares. I was talking to my mom last night. She actually reached out to her broker, Charles Schwab, and they told her that they don't lend her shares to Citadel. When she asked them specifically if they lent out to hedge funds, they said no. But she felt like that there was something that was said that insinuated that their shares or her shares could be lent out, but not necessarily to specifically hedge funds. So she's going to do some more digging on her end, and if she finds something, we'll put her on the show and we'll talk about it. Because there may be some backdoor ways that they're borrowing our shares that we don't know about. That maybe we can call and have them kibosh it, kind of. Day over day price increase yesterday was negative 1.98%. So we were down there. Let's pull up our options real quick here. We'll take a look at those. We're gonna have to find some answers for those votes because I know that's gonna be a big topic today. Let's see here. That's gonna be a big topic. 21.5 on 44 OI. It's a little bit down. Down from 22.9. For $35 strike price, OI is, oh, wait, I'm sorry, it should be 30. Yeah, 18.6, which is slightly down 1,000 as well. Oh, wrong number. 23.6, so it's down quite a bit. 23.6 to 18.6. On volume for today, that'll reset. So, but I'm going to go ahead and plug in the numbers from yesterday, the final numbers that we got. Looks like, wow, 49.5 thousand on 40. 49.5 up from 21. Oh, dang, I keep looking at the wrong numbers. 49.5 up from 45.4. And $38 is still the main portion of volume for $38 strike price on the puts, and it's at 23.1, up from 19.6. 23.1. Today I'm interviewing one of the moderators for the channel, Duncan. Duncan is here. Okay, I'll pull up that screenshot here. Just a second. We will stop the stream and restart it for the Duncan's interview. Let me pull up and see what it is that you've got posted up there, Duncan. Give me a second. I need to see this. Yes. So I read this off yesterday. Gary Gensler's posting. The one part that kind of struck me the most when it was talking about things that they're going to be highlighting was the payment for order flow, which was good. But what I didn't see on here was the dark pools. I really want to see him investigating the dark pools, but I don't see that unless you consider that market plumbing, clearance, and settlement. But we'll read over this here. Yeah, we'll read through this. I'll cover this. Put it off to the side. Welcome, Duncan. It's good to have you on. Did you see the new SEC filing for AMC? yet, and if you did see it, what do you make of it? Because I'm trying to, quite honestly, make some sense of what numbers I'm seeing from that. It's going to be a major point of FUD, I think, and I think we're going to need to get to the bottom of understanding why they posted the numbers that they posted, because you know, there's no way that we don't own the float, and the numbers don't reflect that. So I think I'm trying to look at the data again. I'll put it back up on the screen just so you can see it. But essentially, they just put out, AMC just put out a Form 8K, which basically shows the voting amount, for and non-vote and withheld. Basically, the tallies from all of the votes. And I'm trying to see. This has to be actual votes. And the reason I say that is because if you add it up, that's like 264 million or something like that, total. You know, or 265.9 million. So, if that's indeed how many shares that were voted for, then that's not over the float. But I know that we own the float because the math works out, showing that we own the float. So we're gonna have to figure out, like, you know, what's going on here. Why are there? I mean, even if you go down to line 3, the broker non-votes are 0, so the total amount of votes are here, and you add it up, it's going to be the same number. That's going to be, it's going to be, I'm not sure really what to make of all that. Yeah, I'll post the link to it. We're going to get a lot of questions today about that. What's going on there? So the sooner we can get to the bottom of why those numbers are so low, the better. Because there's no way it's 265 million voters. That can't be the case. I mean, if it is, that's absolutely nuts. I mean, really, really nuts. That's got to be the actual votes, and it does show the abstained as well, or not abstained, but the non-voting ones. It's kind of sad, actually. When you look at the non-voting amount, it nearly is more than the voting amount. Especially in the case of, like, looking at the board of directors who are voted for, only one of them didn't receive more than the amount of non-votes that were issued, which the amount of non-votes were exactly the same across the board, which would, to me, indicate that nobody, you know, either they just didn't vote on the opinion, they didn't have an opinion on that, or yeah, we're gonna have to get to the bottom of that. This will be something that we're gonna struggle with FUD-wise, and we need to figure out what's going on here. Let's see. Actually, I'm just gonna go straight to Reddit and see what's being. Yeah, I'm sure it's being posted. Maybe not. Yeah, nobody's posted it yet. All right, I'll be the first. I really don't know what to say about it though. Let me just let me post this real quick here. I'm gonna look for it. The filing. I'm really kind of surprised by this information. All right, so I posted it, and I entitled it "Incoming FUD." Um, Incoming FUD about the float owned versus vote count just released. Need to get to the bottom of it. So yeah, we're gonna need to figure this out because this is definitely something that's gonna scare some people if we don't figure out why it's happening, why the vote count is so low. If you look at all the data that's out there, there's nothing to me that suggests um, that we don't own the float. So how the votes could be so little in contrast to what we know that we have, I'm not quite sure what to make of it. But having said that, it's time for our Ortex data. So let's look at it. And I had predicted that we would be over 90% based on what I was seeing on shares borrowed yesterday. And indeed we are. We're over 90%. We are at 91.63%, 15.36% short share interest. Let's see, utilization is showing up here. So that's the nice big jump that we had from 88.25 all the way up to 91.63. On loan amount also increased, and I said we would be over, based off the numbers I was seeing yesterday, that we'd be over 100 million, and indeed we are. 97.6 million shares on loan versus 100.2 today. So we increased by almost 3 million shares The data that I was seeing yesterday was saying 4.65, so it was close. Looking at free float on loan, of course, it's going to look very similar, but it's also an increase as well. On loan average per day went down a little bit. It went from 39.73 to 37.65. If we see another big dip on this, we could have another price increase incoming. So the big news, the really big news is, let's move over to, let me check, let me see if there's any indicators popping up yet. Trading signals. Okay, no new trading signals. So the big news is Amazon. So in the aftermarket hours, yesterday, almost immediately after closing, you'll notice that they had a massive loss. In the aftermarket hours, they're down negative 6.53, but look at this sell-off here. Just a huge, massive sell-off, dropping them all. You know, they closed the day at 3,600. I was looking for this 3,600 to drop below 3,500 to be an indicator to me that the market was starting to have problems or issues. And sure enough, 33.63 is what we're at now. Even after a bit of a rally back, they're still struggling. Cinemark is down 0.7. Dogecoin is down negative 3%. Yeah, I think this is selling off, so it's going to start heading down to that 17, maybe 16 range. This is that sell-off I was talking about that was coming. GME is currently down 0.5% in the pre-market. AMC is down 1.26 in the pre-market. 1.26%. What's today going to hold for us? All right, so volume is pretty much where it was yesterday when I was looking at it. So if I had to guess, it's going to be in the same range as it was yesterday. However, if we see a massive market-wide sell-off, I think we could see a closing of positions on AMC, which could lead to intense volume. So it's just going to be a matter of what's going to happen over time. Yep, here I'm going to get blown up now. Let me go back and look. So they're asking me add 4 plus withheld. And then plus, I don't know why this seems basic, broker non-votes. So this is, you know, people are they're wondering, 265, comma 919 657. Okay. We're definitely going to need to get to the bottom of that. Advancers, 3,839 advancers in the market currently to 2,782 decliners. So I'm not seeing a market-wide failure at this time, and that's kind of one of the indicators that I'm looking for to see a big increase in, or a catalyst, so to speak, of AMC. Let me see what you wrote here. Not sure what to make of it, to be honest. I expected a higher percentage of votes. As it stands, it's only slightly above 50% that did vote, which to me seems very low. All thing takes into consideration. Right. So, all right. So, but see, here's the thing, though. Duncan, I just want to point out that I get what you're saying with this, and I'm hoping that's what the answer is to this, is that we just simply had, less than half the amount of voters. I mean, I actually believe that we own, that there's probably about 2 billion shares that are outstanding that are above and beyond the float. And if that's the case, it would be way less than half. It would mean that the amount of individuals that voted would only be, if it's 2 billion is the number that I'm looking for, then that would mean that we had, what, a quarter? Not even a quarter. A quarter of 2 billion would be 200. Yeah, it's a quarter. So it would mean that only a quarter of the voters voted. Now, the part that I don't like, and this is to counter your point that you're making, is if I drag this back over here real quick, if you notice specifically for Proposal 3, it says broker non-votes. Okay, brokers aren't allowed to vote on all votes. So if there's people who don't vote, they can vote on certain items. And the reason that this says 0 is because on Proposal 3, they're allowed to vote on this. This is something they're allowed to vote on. If a person doesn't vote their vote, the brokers can vote for them. And that's why there's 0 non-votes. So that means our total amount of votes, all votes put together, is underneath, is this value, this 265. So, yeah. I don't know. That's the problem. Yeah, so I'm gonna respond to this. So somebody said, "Sorry, I looked at the numbers and don't understand how to tally the votes. Mind explaining to smooth-brained apes?" So I explained it to them, and then they said, "Yes, but this was for people that held shares before June 2nd and actually voted. This means nothing." So I'm gonna just put, I hate to disagree, but if you look at Proposal 3, let's see, if you look at Proposal 3, the broker non-votes, I'll say it differently. Brokers were allowed to vote for those whom didn't vote. And that's why it says 0 votes in that section. Which means they voted. If they voted and our total is still at the same number, then that's the outstanding shares that could be voted on. So the 110 million broker non-votes are 22% of outstanding shares. That would be correct. 22% of the it would mean that it would basically, what it would mean to me is that there was the way it's looking to me is that 88 no 88 77 88 yeah 77 78%. Let me see, is that right? 78% of the people voted is what that means. And 22% of them did not vote. So we had a 78% turnout with 22% not voting. And so that means that somehow we're missing like a ton of votes that just aren't voted for at all. Of course, this is not going to be Europe included. Okay, so somebody said, thanks, I did that. That's what I don't understand. Float was supposed to be 513 million as announced by Adam Aron on June 3rd. So the float is not actually 513 million. The float is actually less than that. It's 448.74 million. 448.74. So yeah, we need to get to the bottom of this. Somehow, I'm pretty sure that we're going to end up having to wait for somebody like Adam Aron to come on and talk about that. Because it was expected that we would see more votes. I didn't think that they would actually release the vote numbers, the values, because I think they have legal obligations that prevented them from doing so. The amount of shares that are being borrowed this morning, it just kind of went up here. Just looking, there's only 7,000 left available to borrow. I wish they had. Oh, okay, here it is down here at the bottom. So Stonko Tracker added this trading volume by every 30 minutes. You can see what the volume's like. So it went from 200,000 down to 7,000. So the borrowing of shares has begun. Look at this. It was 3 million, 4 million in the ETFs, and it dropped down to like 1 million. There's some massive borrowing going on right now. Massive. What is this gonna mean for today? Whew. Whose day is it today? Whose day is it today to go first? I think it's mine. It's my day to go first today. Well, I'm gonna guess volume to be about the same range as where we're at yesterday. So somewhere between 50 and 70. Unless we have a big uptick. It should be so you're right, Duncan. When I said 88% earlier, you're right. It's roughly 40% of retail owners voted because you have to 14%, sorry, 40% of what we're seeing, right? So what they posted was you're absolutely right. This number right here, if you take that number right there, that's how many people did not vote. And you can tell because same numbers down here, but not here. But now this is, but interestingly enough, they couldn't vote on number 4, so that's why the non-broker votes is tallied up over here. If you were to, I can't really prove that that's how many non-voters we had. There's not really a way to make that statement. I mean, you'd be making an assumption if you were to say 110. 110 is a correct number. I mean, it seems to me like that would be the correct number. It is a bit of an assumption because you can't say for sure that everybody didn't vote on, or everybody who voted didn't vote on this portion of it, but did vote on the others. But it does, based on what I'm seeing, how Proposal 4 has the same exact number as Proposal 2, that would lead me to be inclined to believe that there was 110 million votes that were not voted for. Not shareholders, but votes. But if you add up these 3 numbers, that would give your total amount of shares that could have been voted for, which is drastically less than what we would need to meet the float, which is 260. This number adds up to 265. We need 440 something million shares. We know the float's owned. We know it. We know the float's owned. So how come there's only 265.9 million shares voted for or accounted for voting is beyond me. What does that mean? So we know that some in Europe, such as yourself, Duncan, can't vote. Would that make up the other half, though? I can't imagine. And I actually believe this number to be much, much larger. It should be much, much larger than this. 265 is so low. I mean, think of it like this. If the shares were available, like let's say for example that there was that we didn't own the float and there were shares available in the float, does that mean that they could use those shares to cover their positions? I don't know if they can or not. I don't know if they can use the float to cover their positions. So that might be part of the answer. I mean, but we own the float though, so it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna struggle with this one today. maybe I should not touch it for a while. Okay, so somebody's suggesting that that value is the amount of shareholders, but there's no way. We don't have. There's no way that we have 265.9 million shareholders. I don't buy that answer. It's nice to think that. So somebody also mentioned that that they went through the same thing with GME and that they cut the votes down. I'm not sure exactly how they would cut the votes down. Yeah, it says we went through this with. This is from IKN Wall. We went through this with GME. The vote count is meaningless. If there is an overvote, the numbers will be chopped down. It's nonsense. Yeah. Weird numbers. I got to come up with my price. So yesterday we had inflow versus outflow. We had 527 million out or inflow versus 521 million outflow. So we had a positive inflow of money and buying power, but yet the price was down 1.44%, which, or sorry, 1.98%, which is equivalent to about 75 cents. I tend to think. I tend to think that there's a chance that we'll see something very similar today, maybe in the opposite direction though. So I would think maybe close around 39 again. So I might not even change my number. I might actually, yep, I don't even think I'm going to change my number. Number stays the same for today. No changes for me. All right, I will get Eric went first yesterday, I think. So I'll contact John first. I think maybe I'll change my numbers just ever so slightly. No, actually I kind of like my numbers. So I'll get mine and then John's, and then John can go first thing Monday. So we're hitting a level of support at 37.57. I don't see a wall there. I do see the wall at 37.50. $36.2 to $39.2. Okay. I'm gonna put you in. I'm gonna have to create a new spot over here, and I'm gonna give you a tally point for yesterday because I'm sure you got yesterday's. I remember your value was real close to mine. Let's see here. Give me a second. I have to remember how I did this. What color is your favorite color, Duncan? Let's see, I'm going to copy, I guess, mine. Properties, I'm going to rename it. We're going to give you 1 point. And red like the blood of my enemies when I strike them down. No, man, I can't use red because red's missed. I can add it. It's not a problem to add. I'll add you in there. Although it will make you look like you don't have very many. Everybody's gonna be like, Duncan, that guy, he never gets any of them. I'm adding you in. Oh wait, it changed mine. Let's see, what do I do? Rename. Working on the site. Huh, it doesn't like it when I do that. Okay, it doesn't like me. Oops, I have 6, not 5. I will get it on here. Just give me a little bit here. I gotta figure out. I gotta get my price tally. Oh, I got my price tally. I gotta get John's. I think we're gonna. I don't know, man. I feel like there's. I feel like there's an explosion coming here. All right, so copy, rename. Here comes some buying going on here. What's going on? What is this? I feel like if there was truly going to be an explosion in price today, like if today were the day. Oh, this is our 7 a.m. volume of Pokey. That's what it is. Pokey volume. 54,000 solo. Bigger than yesterday though. Let's see here. Copy. And then right click and paste reference. Nope. There we go. I'm gonna figure out how to get this done, Duncan. I might have to do it in the off hours today, but I got you down for 36. I'm gonna write you down in my notes for 36. I don't want to spend too much time working on this right now, but I will put you in later tonight when I get off or over the weekend. Let's see. So Duncan is at 36.2 to 39.2. Okay. And I got my numbers in there. I like your answer with the whole red thing. So I'm going to move Miss Tallies back over just for now. But yeah, I do have you in my notes right here. We'll get rid of this. Let's see here. So we're going to be looking for an answer to why the share count was so low in value. You know, there's so many people who were expecting. I did not personally myself believe that they would be posting the actual amount of shares. I do believe that there's legality issues for them to be able to post the full amount of shares that were voted on. So if there's something, there's got to be something going on there. I don't know enough about the inner workings of what happens on a vote count that wouldn't allow that to come out correctly. Is that correct? 5 point. Yes, that's correct. 5.1 or 513.33. I'm reading a document that was posted, or a post by Kimmy Adventure. Huh, interesting. It does look like Trey was there. If indeed all the people that I'm seeing in this picture here were all in the same location at the same time, then it looks like maybe Trey was in Kansas City. Hard to say though. Hmm. Yeah, so it looks like the mass investor had everybody there. So it looks like Trey and the mass investor and maybe a couple other YouTubers were all in Kansas City when that went down, when the shareholder meeting went down. Looks like we need to start watching some videos. It's basically everything that everybody's talking about sounds like there's people out there or they're talking possibly live about what went down. I'm gonna pull up the mass investors on my screen here.
What is that? Interesting, Ernie. We will remove the $5 hood limit. Buy orders.
Robinhood?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a limit order, they might just not.
So
They also
sometimes brokerages have a 24-hour sort of segment on limit orders. So if you set like a limit order and it doesn't fill within 24 hours, they'll take it off.
Yeah, it'll be like good till close, or it'll be like good till canceled. So if it's like good till close, then like by the time the market closes, then your order's gone. But if it's good till canceled, it'll go for like 90 days or something.
Yeah, and also just FYI, because I know a few people were kind of reaching out about this. If you guys were trying to transfer out of Robinhood yesterday, because that seemed to be the hot topic, and there were any issues, it was IPO day. Okay, so there was a lot of things going on with Robinhood. I personally have voiced the fact that, you know, I don't necessarily like the platform or the leadership team or anything about them, but at the same time, I will cut them some slack that on an IPO day, it gets a little crazy. Okay, so give it 24 hours, reset, try again on Monday, if not today, and see what happens.
Yeah, it's tough to lose $3 billion in a day.
It is tough. It is tough. I mean, you
You
think
gotta sus bits.
you lose $3 billion in a day, Last year, you robbed $3 billion in a day. It just seems like there's
You're
a
being
spread going
conservative
on.
saying that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Oh,
Yeah,
more.
probably a lot.
Quadruple.
AMC volume.
You're not considering the synthetics, the naked shorts, the filings for livers, all those extra billions of dollars.
I was gonna call it synthetic something else.
I mean, the
That's
volume
gonna
that
go
hit was
on
already
a little
1.2 billion before they cut it off. Like, who knows what it could have gotten to.
bit. Okay, so let's talk about hypotheticals really quickly, if you guys don't mind. Do you anyone here have a tinfoil hat, or you guys want to just do it?
I mean, I was gonna do it, and then I couldn't anymore because.
You got a tin can.
I
Here
think
we go. All right, so the case in here. We have GameStop last year. We can't talk about floors, we can't talk about prices, but we can't talk about potential, right? So potential losses, of course, because if you think about potential losses, if you're gonna sue for insurance, let's say you're on a bus, you get into an accident, you're suing for a time loss at work, you're suing for time travel, you're suing for mental illness, all these things. Cool. For the finance industry, for the stock market, you can talk about numbers, right? So let's just think this in for a second. If you get robbed, oh, did someone say something crazy? Oh no.
Yeah, someone said for me to mess up your hair.
Oh, that's not the one I saw.
Oh, yeah. Should I scroll back or should I let it be?
All right, let it be. It's not power, not power.
Oh, it's one of those messages. People on Reddit saying Trey quit AMC. I said no way. Tell people on Reddit that said Trey quit AMC that I said go fuck yourself. Okay? And yes, I'm putting it down. Man, this is an expensive freaking live stream. Listen here, people.
Can I give you $1 for another one?
Who on Reddit is?
No, sorry. This money's gonna go to somebody's. Someone here is gonna get the swear jar full of this and can buy yourself some AMC with this. So you guys can have.
Is there a cap on the synthetic swear jar?
Once the swear jar is full, it goes to somebody and then it starts all over again.
Oh, gotcha.
To me, if I stop
When does
swearing,
it become
kind of
full?
Gotcha.
when the jar gets to even. It's kind of like a bowl, actually. I don't know why I'm calling it a jar. It's just a bowl.
Mhm.
So right now the bowl has about a share's worth of synthetics in it.
Gotcha.
And now I can have another share's worth of synthetics in it.
That's a fish bowl.
This is yeah, exactly. We're good to go right now. So the stock got to over 500 in the pre-market. Then let's talk about GME back in January, and then it got to 480 while the buy button was turned off. When you turn off a buy button, this means you're using the dark pool, you're shorting the hell out of stock, you're manipulating prices, you're trying to do everything you can, and it's not working. Yet when they turned off the buy button, the stock still shot up to 480 with no buying pressure coming in. Just think about that for a second. With no buying pressure coming in, within minutes, the stock went from 300s to almost 500s. What could have potentially happened that day would have been historic. Well, actually, it still was historic, just in a negative fashion. So I look at Robinhood in three ways. I look at Robinhood as the before. They named themselves Robinhood. Great start. I love what you guys are doing. Then the during, they robbed millions of people. 28% of Americans traded GME and AMC throughout that time period. That's roughly 90 million Americans. So 90 million Americans potentially got robbed on one day. Did anyone call 911? No, because we didn't know what to do. So that's during. And now it's the after period. What is Robinhood going to do now? I don't know what they're going to do now. I can't speak to what the future is going to hold, but they have a lot of explaining to do. They have a class action lawsuit coming up. I don't want any part of that. They have a lot of people that are emotionally stuck in a bad position with their share price. How many of you guys were happy yesterday to see their stock price going down? That's not where you want to be. But the point is, we're done. We're over it. We don't have to talk about Robinhood anymore. We don't need to lose money trying to trade Robinhood if we're emotionally attached to them. Let's just worry about us. What about AMC? You guys can't talk about distractions and then talk about Robinhood. Focus back on AMC and GME. Let's have some fun with it. I really don't like Robinhood.
Yeah, come on,
I
Robinhood.
don't like Robinhood.
Oh, God.
Oh, put another one in the swear jar.
Man, guys, you're killing me.
You're killing yourself.
I know.
That's tough. That's tough.
The writing's getting worse and worse. I'm just gonna start doing this after a while.
Yeah, I feel.
As Autumn, a content creator, she's kind of like a manager, and an advisor, and a coordinator for like a talent coordinator, I guess. Yeah, is that a good way of doing
I
it?
would say that's a good definition.
There you go. She's like the mastermind behind what you're currently seeing right now. Which who knows what this is even called right now? What is this called?
What we would call
I
it.
would like to call it unity.
Ooh,
Five apes in the jungle.
there you go.
5 apes, 1 jungle.
5 apes, 1 jungle.
All those numbers coming down. It's kind of crazy.
So I'm hoping what's going to happen is that they're going to touch on the idea that the fact that there was way less votes there. I don't want to steal from their content, right? So if you want answers, you're probably going to find them there. At the Mask Investor's his live feed. So his live feed is going. I'm gonna not steal from him. So I'm just gonna kind of put that off to the side. I think they're probably going to have answers. They were there. They were at the shareholder meeting. Go watch that if you need to. Maybe Duncan, if you want to go check it out or something like that, whatever. I'm cool. I'm just gonna do me for the day and continue to watch AMC and just report on what I'm seeing. So let me see here. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the general feeling that they have right now is that we're getting really, really close to a short squeeze. So that's kind of like that's what it feels like they're getting around at, and they're acting like things really are cool, not to worry about it. So I'm not going to stress over the fact that those votes were low. But that's I got my price prediction in for today. I still have not heard back from John. Eric is in. Yesterday, let's see. Eric's coming in here with a 35 to 38. So he's slightly less than he was yesterday. Ever so slightly. Give me a second here. Okay, so yeah, those guys are over there. They're talking about it. If you want more answers as to why the vote count is low, you might be able to find it better information on TMI's. Like apparently all the main YouTubers are all on his channel right now. Like Trey, Matt apparently is there. Sounded like Andrew Mo Money and TMI obviously since it's on his channel. But I'm not going to continue to just take from their content. But I do want to talk about where we're currently at right now, what we're looking at, and what's going to happen moving forward. They do sound very positive. They're upbeat, so I wouldn't take any of that information about the SEC filing and the low votes as being crucial to our movement. So I'm going to place that aside. But looking at Amazon, when I saw Amazon drop yesterday in the post market, I immediately called up Adam. Told Adam, I was like, "Holy crap, are you seeing this?" And he was like, "Yeah, this is crazy." It's the fact that we saw Amazon's price drop as much as we did in the aftermarket hours. That's one of the indicators that I'm looking for as a possible sell-off from a long position from Citadel. I let me see if I can find. So I'm looking at Citadel's holdings right now, and I'll see if I can find a sale on their part. I do see two new 13G reports that they have out. Let me go back to AMC real quick here on Fintel, and let me pull up owners and institutional owners, and let's see. I mean, we're probably not going to see it looks to me like, so I'll go ahead and pull it over here. Remove, yes. All right. So there is this Ironwood Financial Incorporated. They sold off their position on. Oh, that's a slow blue page. Yeah, we'd had a buy from CPO Capital for 4,432 shares. Having a slow load time here. Let me make sure that's not affecting. Might be affecting the stream a little bit. In about 10 minutes, I have to take my son to his school real quick. It'll take me about 20 minutes for a round trip, so I will be gone in just a little bit. Okay, it finally popped up, this AMC holding. Looks like they had about 665 shares that they sold, so not a whole lot of shares. But the sell-off was on 6:30. So this is a while ago. But I mean, look at the overwhelming buys that we had at the end of the month last month. A lot of buys. I guess we could go to Amazon won't be reporting their sales until later. So we'll have to look at that later. When I get back, we'll go over the testimony before the House Committee on Financial Services that was listed by Gary Gensler. Duncan was kind enough to post that up in the chat, and I need to change this chat to live chat. There we go. But welcome to the stream, guys. And Duncan, it looks like you might be filling in for John today. I tried to reach him, but he's not texting back here. Let's see, Duncan's at 36, so I'm just letting Eric know where you're at. Eric's coming in at the same values almost he had yesterday, 38 to 39, or 38 to 41. I think that's what he said. Oh, sorry, 35 to 38. Duncan's at 36 to 2 to 39 2. So I'm gonna put Duncan in as John for today. All right. Let me kind of wrap up here a little bit. Like I said, I'll be back in about 20 minutes. I gotta take my son over to school real quick. He's got band camp today. He is a drummer, and I'm really proud of him if he's listening. He looks over at me. Oh man. The life of driving back and forth kids to school. He's he's 16 now, and soon to be a driver. So if you live in Texas and Pflugerville area, be careful. He's gonna be hitting the roads here soon. I'm saying these things because I know he's in the background and he can hear me, and just kind of trying to embarrass him a little. Look at these cell walls that are up here. 3761, 29,000. 13,000 at 3808. They're expecting a huge fight today. Massive fight. Let me see if shares on loan. Yeah. So far it's saying shares borrowed so far is negative 38.7K. So yesterday was a 4.65. I'm gonna parenthesis that for yesterday. 4.65 million. Just so we kind of have like an idea from a day-to-day basis, I'm going to put it in parentheses. So negative 38.7 thousand shares borrowed so far. So they've returned shares. I get that value right over here under borrowed share change. And this is what the recording is going to look like. Shares borrowed, and so this is our current amount borrowed, and this is what was done yesterday. Big, huge day on borrowing. And it showed up on the on loan as well. I don't know that this is the case, but I had predicted our utilization to go really high up there, especially with all the borrowing that was happening of shares, with 4.65 million shares being borrowed. That would have been at least 1/3 of the number that we needed to get back up to 100%. So I had said yesterday night it would be definitely over 90%, and sure enough, 91.63%. And the amount on loan sure did increase over to 100 million. So it went from 97.6 to 100.2 million shares on loan. That's good numbers to see. So we'll have another day today, and okay, John's coming in at 38 to 41. All right. I'm actually kind of leaning more the direction that John is on that. Okay, 3 minutes. 3 minutes, and I got to go take my son to school. Like I said, I'll be back in 20 minutes. I'll go ahead and put that up here. Oops. We'll call it 7:50 a.m. No, I'm sorry. It takes me longer than that. It might take me 25 minutes. So we'll call it 7:55 a.m. Let's just call it 8. All right, guys. I'll return in a little bit here after I get done taking them to school. See you for market open. Okay, I'm back, and I think I have answers. More importantly, let's talk about it. Let me pull out some stuff here. This is Ethereum process in the works. I think I understand, or I have an idea how it might be possible for the shareholder vote count to be so low, but yet us still own the entire float. And I'll tell you, I think this could be really important to understand. Okay, let's look at the data real quick. Do I have it open? Did I really close that? Come on, Casey. All right, let me go back to the filings real quick here and open it back up. Okay, so check this out. These are the numbers that were posted here. If you add these all up, they come out to 265.9 million shares voted on. If we own the entire float, but we own through our brokers, it's possible that the brokers have purchased into the float. In other words, the institutional investor ownership is higher than what we think it is. Therefore, they've purchased into the float, meaning that the float is covered by at least, whatever 447 million shares is minus 265.9. That's how much into the float that they have ownership of, but they can't vote on, right? It's the brokers that own those shares, and so they can't vote on those shares because they're owned by brokers, and a float can only be voted on by the retail investors. So, what does that mean? That means that there's so much owned by the brokers that the only amount that's actually owned by retail investors is 265.9 million shares. That's huge. That's massive. It's the only working theory that I possibly have into why the vote count would be so low, because we know we own the float. If you go to institutional ownership and you just look at the top, what is it? What do they got here? 3, 4, 5, 6. The top 6 right here. It's more shares. Let me pull up something else real quick here. I think Yahoo does like a really great breakdown on this, or maybe it's MarketBeat. Okay, maybe it's MarketBeat. Let me see here. Institutional buying and selling. That's shares held. Learn to customize. Okay, so here's more. If you add up all of these numbers, it's going to be well over the amount that they should be able to have. There's so many here. There's so many. It couldn't have been MarketBeat. It had to be. Maybe it's this one. Yeah. Okay. So let's do a little bit of homework here, guys. This is homework 101. The total outstanding shares is 513.33 million shares. The float is 448. So this is how much the retail investors could own, is 448.74 million. The difference is how much institutional investors can own. So if you take those two numbers and you subtract them from each other, minus 448.74, you get 64.59 million shares owned. So now let's do some math. All right, let's go back to the sheet. We're going to do some maths. I like calling it maths. And these are reported as of March 30th, but we're just going to go off of these numbers as it stands. 37 plus 27, that's 64 million right there alone. So we already know, just based on Vanguard and BlackRock alone, the institutional investors own more than the entire amount that the institutional investors are supposed to own with just those two alone. Okay, then you have all these other companies down here in the millions, right? Now, granted, this is old information from March. Some of them may be a little more current, May. But get this, guys. This is the point that I'm trying to make. Institutional investors own into the float. The reason that our share count is so low on the vote is because of the fact that institutional investors can't vote on the float. And if they can't vote on the float, then the vote's only going to reflect on the actual actual retail investors' amount of shares owned. So important to understand that relationship. So, if somebody asks, why is that value so low? That's the answer, I think. I think that's the answer to the reason why this share count is so low. A very very large portion of the float is owned by institutional investors, and it can't be reported. And the only way you can see it reflected is in the vote count, because we know that there's 110 million people who didn't vote. We also know how many people did vote. And when you add those two up, that number is 260 some odd million shares. I mean, I'll just add it up again so I have it on the calculator. 265. Retail investors only own 265.9 million shares, but it's because, retail investors only own 265.9 million shares. Institutional investors own into the float, and that's why those shares are not reflected in this vote. That's got to be what it is, which means that this is massive. If they're buying into the float, it's because we own so much that they have to. You know, companies like Fidelity, all the brokers have to buy more of the float in order for it to represent shareholders who are buying the stocks. All right, so let's look at the options. We'll pull those up real quick here. That's important, guys. We gotta keep that in mind. I'm gonna pull up options trading. I'm gonna do it on Fidelity. Okay, so here's the updated options. Take a look at those. I think I already had pulled the OI on this, and it shouldn't change. So let's see. Calls at the $40 strike price, 21.5. Oh, I'm sorry. These are all zeroed out. Okay, so yeah, the day hasn't started yet, so those aren't updated. So let's see. 21.5, I have an update on that, so that's correct, and 18.6. So yeah, I'm good on the OI for today. At the 125, I can't pull that up on this one, so I'm gonna have to pull that up on the other one. Where are you, other one? Nope. looks like there is 36,268. 36.2. That is up. Something's happening. And that's why I entitled today The Calm Before the Storm. If you wanted to buy, if I had extra money to buy options the first week of August, I would go for some extremely long call options in AMC, like just something that's ridiculously long if you need some immediate cash, because something's cooking big. So short share interest is increasing. It's at 15.41%. The amount of shares borrowed is now up in the positive. Earlier today when I recorded it, it was negative 38.7. Yesterday we had 4.65 million shares borrowed. We are now at 329,000 shares borrowed for the day. So I'll go ahead and update that. Yeah, something's cooking, guys. Something is cooking. You know, part of the indicators that I had put up with True Demon, those are indicators that were going to help us to identify when we were going to have these gamma squeezes. I don't even think we have a gamma squeeze cooking. I mean, all the indicators are red. There's nothing showing here. What we have cooking right now is possibly the MOAS that we're looking for. I mean, this looks really big. It's so huge. If I'm right about the amount of institutional ownership into the float, that's going to be some massive news. I don't even know if that's possible. I need to find out if it's possible. Let me see. Let me look it up and see. Okay, so I just looked up, can institutional investors own the float? And it says right here, when the percentage, and this is off of Pocket. Let's do this one. We'll do Investopedia. Can institutional holdings be more than 100%? Many investors choose to research the percentage of a company's stock held by institutional investors as a way to gauge where larger investors are investing their money. These institutions may include mutual funds, pension funds, big banks, and other large financial institutions. They represent the largest source of supply and demand in the market, and they're the first ones who participate in the primary market. Institutional investors are also responsible for the majority of trades on the secondary market. Because of this, they have a great influence on stock prices. Sometimes you may come across a case where an investor appears to hold shares in a company that far exceeds what actually exists. Obviously, it's technically impossible for any shareholder or category of shareholder, institutional or individual, to hold more than 100% of a company's outstanding shares. So when you see an investment information website reporting institutional holdings that exceed 100%, you can probably assume that there's something wrong with the data. There are two likely sources responsible for reporting errors. But can they... This doesn't talk about ownership of the float. I need to find about institutional float. There are occasions when the institutional ownership exceeds the total float because the funds have bought up the borrowed shares held by short sellers. When it becomes impossible to acquire any more shares, the stock almost inevitably begins to decline as often and intensely as institutions promote the value of the stock. The cessation in purchasing sends a powerful signal that a share price has hit a ceiling. At this stage, analysts may downgrade the stock because its price potential has been exhausted. Yeah, I think that's what's happening. I think that the institutions own into the float, and that's why our voter count, our voter share count, is so high. That's got to be the reason. It's the only thing that really seems to make any sense whatsoever. So I'm running with that. So if anybody should ask, that's what I'm going to run with. I'm going to run with the reason that I think the shareholder count is so low. The shareholder vote count is so low is because the institutions own the rest of the float, and it's due to naked shorting. Somehow there's a relationship there. I'm gonna tweet this. Okay. Wow, this is just this is pretty exciting. I didn't think that they would release the actual vote count today. Okay, I'm gonna tweet this. Let's put this out there. Um, Okay, let's see. How do I want to say this? Vote count is out. How do you add links? And I need to figure out what the and the expected. What do you call it when something merges into something else? Exceeds. It's not exceeding. So here's what I'm putting. Vote count is out and the count is low. The only thing that makes sense to me is that institutional ownership exceeds into no bleeds into retail into the float. The massive amounts of naked shorts. No, I'm not gonna put that. Yeah, that's the only thing that makes any sense whatsoever. Bleeds into the institutional ownership is bleeding into the float. They have to buy the shares. I mean, there's no shares to be bought. The institutional ownership is only supposed to be 60-some million shares, and that's taken up by two companies alone, Vanguard and BlackRock. So everything else has to be purchased from the float. So that's why the share count's so low. The share count, 260 something million shares, 260, we'll just call it 266. 266 million shares counted. That means that you could take that number and subtract it from the 200 and what is the float? The float is 448.74. Let's do the math. Can I save this? So minus. Oh, okay, wait, hold on a second. It's going to be 448,740. Oh, you know what? It's time for the market's opening. I didn't play the beginning of the show, guys. Let's do it. Beginning of the show.
T-minus 90 seconds and counting. All systems are go. We're about 90 seconds from the launch of Space Shuttle Discovery. T-minus 60 seconds and counting. We are transferring to orbiter internal power at this time. Discovery is now running off its 3 onboard fuel cells. Coming up on a go for auto sequence start. And we have a go for auto sequence start. Discovery's onboard computers have primary control of all the vehicle's critical functions. T-minus 17 seconds and counting. 15, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, start, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery, returning to the space station, paving the way for future missions beyond.
Separation confirmed. Guidance now converging. Discovery's onboard computers commanding the main engine nozzles to swivel, aiming the shuttle for its precise target in space for main engine cutoff.
You sound good.
Discovery Houston, negative return.
Copy, a negative return.
Good morning, Apes. Welcome to AMC and ADD, where we buy, hold, and screw the hedgie. Wonderful looking little launch that we had there at the beginning. I like it. I'm liking what I'm seeing. I definitely feel like something's cooking right now. We have a lot of exciting indicators that have really kind of stepped up to kind of point towards something crazy happening or something amazing happening. Every single day I cover Amazon. What's going there, what's going on. They are down negative 7.61% from yesterday. currently running at 33.25. That's the heartbeat of America right there. You want to see the heartbeat of America and how the market's doing. That's it. And it was 3,500 a couple weeks ago. And now it's trading at 33.21. And currently, let's see, how does it look? It looks like it dropped right off the beginning of the open of the market. But yeah, just a steady decline. The massive drop that they had yesterday. Look at this. Look at this. Just massive, massive, massive drop in the aftermarket hours. If anybody wants to tell you that the biggest fireworks happen in the aftermarket hours is not true, then they would be full of shit. Don't believe them. Some of the biggest movements that GME had when they had their squeeze was in the aftermarket hours. Think about that. Cinemark is currently up 0.13% today. Dogecoin is down. This is the down part I was talking about. We're probably looking at like maybe 17 cents. You know, it's probably coming. This is the pump and dump part. GME is up 0.41%. We are currently up 1% and climbing, continuing to climb. Just busting through some of these levels of resistance, making them look like paper. Looking really, really good. Shares borrowed. Currently, we'll pull up Vortex real quick here. Refresh this. Looks like short share interest is 15.36%. And we're at 26.7 shares borrowed, which is low. It's actually down from earlier. Earlier it was at 329,000 shares borrowed. We're going to go to 26.7. Yesterday was 4.65 million shares. I have not seen, since I've started keeping track of the amount of shares borrowed day over day, I have not seen a number that big. When that's been about 2 weeks that I've been tracking this. So those shares borrowed could be the movement that we're going to have today. So I hate to say it, but most of us who had price predictions today lower than $40 will probably end up being wrong. And I hate to say it, but I love to see it. I definitely love seeing green candlesticks, that's for sure. Let's see what we got going on here. Inflow versus outflow. Looks like inflow is almost 10 million higher already right off the get-go. Volume is a little low. Volume for today, I'm kind of predicting somewhere around 50 to 70 million. I made that prediction earlier this morning. If we have an explosion in price, let me see. We want to see about 250,000 shares traded per minute. We're at that level right now so far with most of these columns of volume. So we're doing good on volume currently to maintain about 100 million share trade for the day. So my prediction may end up being wrong. We might actually be higher. Now, if the price absolutely just explodes today, you can expect to see that volume just balloon massively, and I'll just be way wrong, and that's okay. But I was basing it off the numbers I was seeing this morning. So let's see what other indicators. We're going to look at options, see how those are looking right now. Let's refresh this. Actually, no, we're going to refresh in about. Let's give it about 5 more minutes. The reason I say that is that these numbers are going to reset in about 6 minutes. So we'll come back and check those in about 6 minutes. I said I would go over Gary Gensler's testimony. Let's go ahead and pull that up. I don't know if you guys can read it if I don't make it full page. So, you know, I'm just going to provide the link. And actually, I think Duncan provided the link already once this morning, but I'll go ahead and provide it again. Check that out. Check that out. I'll read over some of the key points in here. It is a little bit of a long read to read everything. Payment for order flow. I'll read that portion of it. Why might brokerage firms want to increase? So this is Gary Gensler's testimony before the House Committee on Financial Services, May 6, 2021. So this is a little bit old information, but in fact, I think I've covered one of the portions in here before. Yeah, I did actually. This is it's under equity market structure. If you get to that point, I had talked about before, one of the indicators that you know that the MOAS is going to start is by watching the market tank. And in that section, they do talk about some of the trading that occurs with some of the, I'll just cover it real quick here. January's events bring new light to equity market structures. Today, our markets essentially have three different segments. While the public generally thinks of the markets as public exchanges like NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange, those big public markets had about 53% of the volume in January, according to public data. So where's the other 47%? This is pretty massive if you think about this. 47% that's not traded. And so about 9% of January's volume was executed at alternative trading systems. These are the dark pools. These alternative trading systems, commonly known as dark pools, emerged following the 1998 regulation ATS rules, taking advantage of the new advances in the internet and communications technologies. That leaves about 38%. So this is the number that I was posting on Reddit when I had posted this. 38%. That's how much you're looking for the market to fall by. And the reason for that is if Citadel shuts down and all these other hedge funds shut down because they're no longer in business, 38% of the market's going to crash. So it says that leaves about 38%, the majority of which was executed by off-exchange wholesalers, a group of firms that have been taking a growing share of trading volume as publicly available data on reported trades show. Just 7 wholesalers made up the vast majority of its 38%. 7 wholesalers. One firm, Citadel Securities, has publicly stated that it executes about 47% of all retail volume. 47% of all retail volume. And 67.4% of ours is traded in dark pools. So, in January, 2 firms executed more volume than all but one exchange, the NASDAQ. The high concentration of retail orders routed to a small number of wholesalers raises a number of questions about market structure. In essence, does this segmentation and related sector concentration best promote fair, orderly, and efficient markets? And of course, the answer is no. History and economics tell us that when markets are concentrated, those firms with the greatest market share tend to have the ability to profit from that concentration. Market concentration can also lead to fragility, deter healthy competition, and limit innovation. I've asked staff to look closely at these issues to determine which policy approaches may be merited. So I've read this actually quite a long time ago when this came out. But he talked about PFOF way back then. It's a good read. Check it out. He's going to have to unfortunately testify before Congress again once we're all done. And I'm sure he's going to have a lot of things that he's going to try to put in place before then. We got about 2 more minutes and we'll check out the options. Let's see here. Robinhood. I expected them to make $28 yesterday. They only went down to 34, but they're still continuing their downtrend. Looking pretty poor. Volume's at 7.3 right now, and we're at 5.39. So they're actually, I do feel like they're stealing some of our volume, if that's possible. Later today, I'm going to stop the stream and we'll have an interview with Duncan, who is one of my admins. And we'll find out who Duncan is, how he got here, and all that kind of good stuff. Just kind of introduce him so everybody knows who he is. And just he resides overseas. I'll let him explain where he's from. But he's overseas. He's not in North America. And I think it's really good to get a perspective of people who are not in the United States or Canada, North America basically, and see what their perspective is on what's happening. Hugely vital. You don't want to just have your perspective centralized in a bubble, and seeing other people's viewpoints from outside the bubble that you live in is extremely important to understand how the rest of the world works. Let's see here. Shares being borrowed. Looks like they borrowed some shares recently, but then returned them. As early as 7:30 this morning, they had about 7,000 shares left, and then they showed back up again. Also, the ETFs, there was a ton of ETFs that were borrowed this morning and then returned. I have not adjusted the price predictions for everybody yet this morning. Mine are going to stay the same. Eric's going to $35 to $38 dollars, so I've got to adjust some of these real quickly here. So Eric's going to go to $38. Looks like he's trending down day over day. Everybody got a point yesterday. The whole group. Let's see. John's upper level. John's looking bullish today. His upper level is going to be 41. My level is going to remain at 40.50. Let's see here. John's lower level is going to be 38. And we're going to add Duncan in this weekend. Wait a minute. John's and Eric's overlap exactly at 38. So I'm going to have to put them at just slightly difference in numbers just because I don't think I can place them over top each other. Actually, I'm going to move John's up just a tad so we can see the purple line of Eric's, but we'll know that it's 38. So that makes John bullish because we opened up lower than his low value. So let's change John's little price prediction. John is bullish. I am even, and it looks like Eric is even as well, but just barely. I think John's going to get a tally point today. There's a chance he might get a tally point and nobody else does. Eric's lower limit is 35. Okay, so we're hovering right around $38. We have 6.1 million shares traded so far. Candlesticks are volume of volume is kind of starting to trend low. We need it to be above 250 and it's starting to hit low. Starting right about here. We've had lower volume. Not any good indicators for me to look at to try and draw out. I mean, look at this. This is just deadness. I can't come up with like a trend quite yet. Give me a little bit of time here. All right, let's look at those options. It's time. the volume should have reset, and it did. And let me pull over my numbers. 21.5 is correct. 18.6 is correct. Okay, today's current volume for call options, the highest level of support. Might be too early to say. As it stands right now, it's 46.50. So we'll put it now. We'll put it for the time being, but I don't think that'll hold. It's at 1.3, 1,300 contracts basically, 1364. On the put side, holy Toledo, nothing. There's not even 1,000 anywhere. The strongest point is almost a tie, but we're gonna call it 38 at 0.8. That is so low. It's not. It's a little early to be looking at it honestly because it's 1.3 for the calls and 0.8 for the puts. A little bit early, but we'll see this change as time goes on. I would expect the $40 amount to be the strong point again. It just the volume today is going to be low just because it is Friday. You're not going to see as many people buying same day contracts expirations. I can't imagine. I guess it would probably depend on how low the price got. If we stayed around this price, we'll probably see that number pick up a little bit, just because we could hit 40 by the end of the day. We'll see what ends up happening here. RSI currently at 56.52, so just a little above average on the 30-minute interval. On the 5-minute interval, we're currently at 64.75, so definitely on the high side. There's still room to move up in price, but consolidation right now is probably where it's at. Tentatively, what we could be seeing here is a period of time of consolidation before it breaks out, going up again. Let's see, it's showing up as 10 o'clock roughly. Maybe 15 more minutes of consolidation, and then maybe breaking out up. I'd like to see some more green movement. Yeah, I'm really shocked by I can't even tell you how shocked I was to see the actual vote count listed on the SEC report. I didn't think that we would actually get the vote count, but it's there, and it's much lower than I had anticipated. I actually honestly didn't think we'd see a vote count. I thought it was only going to be announced how many actual voters there were. But sure enough, they went ahead and listed everything. They ended up removing Proposal 5, which means they're not going to kick the can down the road. So these votes are the votes that we're stuck with. The reason that they removed 5, according to the SEC report, was because they took away. These are the exact words. As previously announced on July 6th, the company withdrew Proposal 1 to amend the company's third amended and restated certificate of incorporation to increase the total number of shares of Class A common stock that the company shall have authority to issue. Further, Proposal 5 to adjourn the annual meeting was not necessary and was not submitted to stockholders at the annual meeting. So they just went ahead and took out Proposal 5. I guess they didn't see a need to vote for anything further. As well as dilution was taken off the table. Further dilution, which was the Proposal 1, which was announced a while ago. But the only reason that I see for those share count of the votes being lower is institutions must own into the float. That's the only thing that makes any sense whatsoever. Because we know you can just see it. Pulling up the data, you can just see the fact that they own. Where was it that I pulled that? Right here. Let's make that in the middle. You know, add up your current shares. This was previously shares owned. This is what's currently owned. But if you went ahead and pulled up like any other kind of website that shows you AMC institutional investment ownership, you know, you can just pull up probably anyone besides Fintel. And you can see, you know, Vanguard 37 million, BlackRock 27 million, 30. That's 64. This amount right here is the total. That totals what the institutional investors should have in total. In total. So you got another 6, 6, 6, 4, 3, 3, 1, 1, 1. All these are over how much that bleeds into the float. And so that's why our numbers are low on the float. Institutional investors own into the float, which I didn't know was possible. I called up Eric on my way home from dropping my son off, and after just talking to him for a couple minutes, I started developing the idea that you know, the only thing that made any sense whatsoever is that they own part of the float. And so as soon as I got home, I started looking it up, and sure enough, you know, you can see how much they own into the float. You know, one of the things that concerns me the most about our community is that when people have information and they start questioning things, they almost automatically get downvoted. And I think that people need to be a little bit more receptive to people having questions. And I'm strictly talking on Reddit. That's the primary source that I use. You know, there's a difference between saying, why is our volume so low, and is the stock um, in trouble because the volume's low? There's a difference, right? One's insinuating that something wrong is happening, and the other is just saying like, why is the volume low? You know, let people ask questions. If they don't understand why volume's low, answer it. There's no reason to downvote them, or you know, shun them or shill them or whatever just because they have a question. When they start making accusations that the stock performance is not doing well because of something, which is kind of the reason why I posted mine the way I did this morning on the shareholder vote, and I said incoming FUD about the float owned versus vote count just released. Need to get to the bottom of it. So you know, the reason we need to get to the bottom of this is to reduce the amount of FUD that's happening, or maybe incoming, because people are going to be asking like, hey, what's up with the shareholder count? Why is it not as many as it was supposed to be, or that we thought there was going to be? And you know, I think there's a good answer for it. I don't know that my answer is the right answer, but I do believe that there's definitely, you know, a discussion that needs to be had about it, because we need to understand these kind of things. Charles Payne tweeted that Robinhood. No, actually, he didn't say that. He just said "ouch" to somebody else's post where they said Robinhood suffers the worst big IPO debut ever, closes more than 8% lower. I'm pretty sure that Facebook closed lower than that the first day, but I don't remember for a fact. Let's see what the news is saying. I am curious. I have not looked up news this morning on AMC, so let's check it out. Let's see if there's some positive information out there, or negative. 57 minutes ago, there was an article from the Motley Fool. I call it Mostly Fool. The Motley Fool said, "Can Scarlett Johansson suing Disney save AMC?" And of course, we know what the answer to their question is. It's an open-ended question that they're going to answer, and we know what the answer will probably be. That was posted 57 minutes ago. One more hit piece thanks to them. Let's see. I don't understand why they have such a hard-on against AMC. It's kind of crazy. So here's an article 21 hours ago, so it's almost a day ago. It says, "Understanding AMC Entertainment's Unusual Options Activity." It's written by Benzinga. Let's check it out. It's a staff writer from Benzinga. It doesn't say necessarily who at the top. Interesting. It says bearish. The sentiment's bearish, but I'm not seeing that. This is odd. Look at this, guys. I'll get rid of the tally marks. Oh, they were gone. There we go. And I'll put my ugly mug back up there for those of you who want to see it. On Thursday, shares of AMC saw unusual options activity. After the option alert, the stock price moved up to 39.9. Sentiment bearish. The option sweep was for a call at $40, and I don't know why they're calling this bearish. Call options are not bearish. They're just not. Inherently, they are bullish. So this seems like a misprint. Why they would say that, I don't get it. 3 signs of unusual options activity. One-way options market activity can be considered unusual. Is when volume is exceptionally high than its historical average. The volume of options activity refers to the number of contracts traded over a given time period. The number of unsettled contracts that have been traded but not yet closed is called open interest. Man, I'll tell you what, Duncan, you're the best, man. I appreciate you teaching me something. I'm really enjoying that. These contracts are not yet closed because a buyer has not purchased the contract or a seller has not sold it. This makes me think back to when I bought those 3 options the very first time I bought options, and the fact that I didn't sell. I don't even know if I could have gotten a buyer had I tried to sell. That would have been interesting to see, since I never actually got a chance to experience that side of options trading. I'm kind of curious as to what would have happened if I would have tried to have sold it. Another indicator of unusual options activity is the trading of a contract with an expiration date in the distant future. Additional time until a contract expires generally increases the potential for it to grow its time value and reach its strike price. It is important to consider time value because it represents the difference between the strike price and the value of the underlying asset. Out of the money contracts are unusual because they are purchased with a strike price far from the underlying asset price. Out of the money occurs when the underlying price is the strike price on a call option or above the strike price on a put option. Buyers and sellers try to take advantage of large profit margin in these instances because they are expecting the value of the underlying asset to change dramatically in the future. Bullish and bearish sentiments. Okay, so maybe this is where they're going to talk about why they're calling it bearish. Options are bullish when the call is purchased at near ask price or a put is sold at near bid price. Options are bearish when a call is sold at near bid price or a put is bought at near ask price. I guess that makes sense, right? That makes sense. You know, if you sell your bearish, if you sell your call option at the bid price, and that means you expect it to go down. So I could see that. But it does, when it says a sweep, that's a buy. A sweep I thought was a buy. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I'm pretty sure a sweep is a buy. So if they bought at 24 hours ago, $40 strike price, that's bullish. I mean, according to what they are saying, it's bullish. These observations are made without knowing the investor's true intent. By purchasing these option contracts, activity is suggestive of these strategies, but an observer cannot be sure if a bettor is playing the contract outright or if their options bettor is hedging a large underlying position in common stock. For the latter case, bullish options activity may be less meaningful than the exposure a large investor has on the short position in common stock. Can you imagine if let me throw out a scenario for you. Let's say you're a hedge fund and you owned a long position in a company and you knew you were going to sell off this extremely large position, and it would inversely impact the market due to the fact that you're selling off. Imagine buying a bunch of put contracts against the company that you were going to sell your position in, and then come over here and look at Amazon. In 30 days from now, I'm going to look and see if Citadel bought put options on Amazon and then sold off, because that's pretty shady. That's pretty shady to have long positions in a company and then sell off like that, and have put contracts in there. I mean, it's a good way to make money, I guess. We're currently up 2%, roughly. Holy moly. We're breaking through that $38.73. So we wanted to stay. Yesterday, the number that I was throwing out there was $39.26. That's a number we want to try and get above and stay above, because if we can, that's kind of like a new, I don't know what to call it, maybe like a new cloud. So like if we were kind of in this cloud down here, there's another cloud up above. So we're moving up into a new cloud of prices, and if we can get up there, we'll find new levels of support and resistance, and we can hopefully push past 40. But the problem is at $40, $40 to $45 is that gray area, so we don't want to get stuck in there. So you want to see kind of a lot of consolidation at 39, just something between 39.26 and 40. Consolidation in that point, and then a huge push driving through both 40 and 45. This is a post by Crypt Serper on Reddit. It says breaking news. FINRA is investigating Robinhood for insider trading, literally. It is investigating whether any employee trading in these securities may have occurred in advance of announcement of trading restrictions. Let's look at the rest of the market really quick here. I just want to see how it's changed. Because it looks like the Nasdaq is down right now. S&P 500 looks to be down. Let's wait for the update. We might have a reversal here. Advancers were higher than decliners, but we might have had somewhat of a reversal. Oh man. I was looking at 38 expecting it to drop something significant. It changed, but I can't tell whether that was a positive or a negative change because I wasn't looking at the last two digits. 38. So, I mean, but, you know, there's definitely more advancers than there are decliners. 38.78 to 27.84. We could wait for the heat map to change down here, but I don't care that much. Okay, so we hit that level of resistance at about $30, 38.86, kind of bounced off of it, and then started heading down. That almost looks like a bear trap. We tested through that level of resistance, and then weren't able to break through it, and it just is dropping now. Almost looks like a bear trap to me. Awfully similar to what happened earlier today. But it could just be a stair-stepping motion upwards. More consolidation. So this on the Stonko tracker page, this is the new setup that they've got going down here with the trading volume, showing you how much has been traded per half hour, so you can kind of get a feel for how we're trending in volume, which is nice, but I personally don't really need it because I kind of get it. I know what it is as a good heartbeat, you know, on our stock. If we want to see 100 million shares traded in the day, we got to be over 250,000 shares traded a minute. And if you're just not seeing that in the volume, then you're not going to be hitting a million. Sorry, 100 million. So most of these are underneath that. I'm expecting fireworks in either after hours today or fireworks on Monday. I think there's going to be something crazy going on. I've only bought options once, and I kind of would like to buy them again. But I really do hate giving money away too. Yeah. So I'm kind of going through Reddit right now, kind of trying to check and see what's being said out there. I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised that nobody's talking about the shares, the share vote. I think a lot of people are mentioning, or at least I saw one person mention, who was it? DCW pointed out that GME and AMC are trading almost identically. That doesn't look identical. I don't know where they're getting that. They posted something entirely different. What did they post? Oh, okay, they're looking at MACD and RSI. I'm sorry, I thought they were looking between GME and. I think what they're trying to identify is the fact that the share. Actually, I have no idea what it is that they're trying to point out. I thought it was GME and AMC. Normally, we do kind of track on the same kind of pattern, but definitely not today. I guess maybe if you took this and kind of forgot about this portion right here, that might kind of look a little bit like what they have. Nice, very nice cup and handle forming there. Got the cup and the handle. I guess you could say the same for ours. I'm really not seeing a whole lot of news going through the news feed. Just not much out there. Volume at 12 million after 45 minutes of trading. I would definitely say that our volume's gonna, I was starting to think there was a chance we could have more volume than what I predicted, but I'm predicting 50 to 70 million shares traded ever since 7 o'clock this morning. So actually before probably. I think around 6:30 I said that. So I do think that that's where we're going to end up if we don't see some kind of spike in the trading. And that's possible. We could have something happen, some activity that just pops up and it just blows up. But I do feel like, let's see, what did we trade? Yesterday we finished in at. Oh, that's not right. 59.3 million shares traded. So like almost. Yesterday I had the same prediction, 50 to 70, so I almost nailed it right in the middle. And I'm feeling like today's looking like the same thing. I have a feeling we'll wake up on Monday and we'll see something drastically different. So currently, Eric would be out of the running for a tally point if we stayed above this price. His upper limit for the day today is at 38. John starts at 38. Mine's 37.5 to 40.5, and Duncan's at 36.2 to 39.2. He is not listed up here on the page. Starting next week, we'll get him his own color and his own indicator on here. And then when he wins a week, we'll send him melted ice cream. however long it takes to get to him. We'll get it there. Or we'll just set up a Venmo and I'll pay for him to have ice cream with his kids or something. And my wife, I think, got me some beard oil. I haven't used it yet. Maybe tonight. So hopefully this beard thing is gonna stop bothering me here once I start using that beard oil. Let me tell you, I sure hope this MOAS happens soon because I don't know if I can continue to grow this thing out forever. That is probably more challenging for me to grow this beard than it is for me to hold AMC shares through a 70% dip. I think I'd rather take the dip. I'm constantly checking the tweets to see if I see anything pop up on there in regards to what we're looking for. Looks like $987 billion in reverse repos, according to Rockstar Stocks on Twitter. We're 13 billion away from hitting $1 trillion, guys. Really, really close. But I mean, this really 4 days in a row, less than 70. Well, I mean, one day was slightly higher than 70 million shares traded, but 4 days in a row of just really low volume definitely makes this. That's why I titled this episode "The Calm Before the Storm." There's something brewing. There's definitely something brewing. Let's look at something real quick. Let's do a little bit of a brain exercise here. Let's look at GME's volume over time, right? Let's get an idea of what happened back in January of this year and see if we can figure out if there was something that kind of signaled. Now, I have on my indicators, or at least when I was doing a model on GME, I kind of have like, I have the 11th down as being 111 as being kind of like the start of their MOAS. They went from 1.8 to 111. What days were those? Let me just make sure that's not a weekend. 1.8. It is a weekend. Okay, so from one day of trading, from 1.8 on Friday to 111 on the following Monday, they went up from $17 a share to 21.80, 17.08 to 21.82. And that's kind of the point that I started to choose to model after, because it just seemed kind of like that's when everything started blowing up. So, knowing that, let's go back and look at that time frame on 1.8. And let's just look at the shares that are traded over time beforehand. Let's actually go back to let's go a month back to December. So it looks like they normally traded, looks like they had some busy days. Let me get rid of some of the stuff on the page here so you guys can see. So they had some busy days, let's say we'll start on December 8th. So 16, 24, and then 7, 7, 10, 8, and these are all millions. So 10, 8, 5, 8, 16, 9, 30, 25. That's going into December 23rd. And then for the rest of the month, from December 24th to December 31st, it went 6 million, 8, 9, 5, 6. So single digits the last half of December. Then they had a 10 million day on January 4th, so after the holidays. And then it went 4, 6, 6, 6. So the 5th through the 8th were all low volume days. And remember, I said that I felt like the first day of trading that really kind of indicated to me the squeeze started for GME was the 11th. So it went 4, 6, 6, 6, and then up to 14. So more than doubled. A doubling on what we have right now would be 100 million, which is good. I think anything over 100 million is good for our stock. But then they went the very next day back down to 7, and then up to 144 million. 144 million on the 13th, which was a Wednesday, because the 11th was a Monday. Then it went down to 93 million, and I actually didn't look at volume. I never once looked at volume, so it's kind of interesting that I picked the 11th as a start of their MOAS, which ended up just being a gamma squeeze. But that volume really picked up on the 13th to 144 million shares traded. Then it went 93, 46, 74, 33, 56, and then skyrocketed again on the 22nd. The 22nd of January was a Friday. So between the Monday of the 11th, after a week and a half, basically 2 weeks worth of time, they were now trading from single digits up to almost 200 million shares traded. So the equivalency of that, like if we were to say that 50 million shares traded right now is our single digits, right? Because you kind of have to look at these a little bit differently. But let's look at the relationship to the value. So let's say that we'll say the average share trades before January 11th would have been around, we'll put in 8 million. So what's the difference of 8 million and 197 million percentage-wise? I'm just going to round numbers off here. Yeah, we'll go 8.5. Did that wrong, I think. I always do it backwards. I'll know here in a second if I did it wrong again. Okay, there we go. Is that right? I think that might be right. 43. No, that's still wrong. No, it was right the first time. I was 100% right. 4.3%. So 8.5 million shares to 197 million shares is a 4.3% of that value. Wait, what do I have down for GME? -1. So basically 95.6% more. So if we were to take our 50 million, multiply it by 95%, and add to that 50 million. Wait, that's not right. I feel like such a dummy right now. It's too early to math. Let's see. may have had it right before. 197 divided by. Is that really 2,317%? Yeah, I think it was 2317. So let's do that. 2317. So if I were to do 8.5 million times 2317. Okay, so it's I'm getting close to the right number, but I'm adding in too many, so it's like 231.7%, I think. Nope, that's not right. Man, I can't math this morning. Give me a second here. I gotta use my Excel chart over here. Yeah, it is 95. It is 95.7. I was right the first time. 95.7% increase. Or basically 22. It's 2,217% increase over time. If you put the 197 on the bottom and the 8.5 on top, so it's 2,217% increase. So if we were to do that kind of increase on 50 million, dang, that's just going to be such a massive number. Is that even possible? That's why when I do these numbers, it's like I'm sitting here looking at this. If I move the decimal point over, it would be 22.17. That's how many potential shares we could see on the beginning of our squeeze traded in one day. 1.1 billion shares. That's just absolutely massive. Like the numbers weren't making sense to me when I was doing the math on the calculator, and then so I had to pull it up on Excel. And as soon as I saw it, as soon as I saw Excel telling me the numbers were correct, I'm sitting there going like, wait a minute, these just don't make sense. But yeah, those are the numbers we could potentially see once we see the squeeze start happening. 1.1 billion shares traded in one day. That's what it's going to look like. When you put things into perspective of what the GME squeeze looked like in the comparison of what kind of share volume that they had at the time when they were trading just before the squeeze started. But that was on the 22nd of January that they saw 197 million shares traded. That's insane to think that we would have 1.1 billion shares traded in one day. Wow. But it did drop back down, if you're noticing, right? Like, so they had 197, 177, 178. I think, excuse me, I think everybody would agree that GME topped out on the 28th at $514.50, which is this day right here where it started to drop back down, right? So it went up to 197, 177, 178, 93.58. And volume kind of stayed around, somewhere between 30 and 70 million It hit 71 here, 78 here, 81 here, but volume did drop out and then ended up back down in the averages by the 16th of February. Then they had some volatility as time went on. So, but the squeeze was definitely over by the 28th. But yeah, so be looking for 1 billion shares traded in volume on our stock when this happens. You'll definitely know when that happens. It's gonna be no mistaking what's happening during those times. Wow. So the main point that I was trying to make out of that, after I spent all that time talking about it, the main point that I'm trying to make about that is that what happened just prior to the squeeze, right? So looking at that, looking at January 11th, the day that I kind of identified, they did have lower than expected volume. Normally they were trading about 8.5. They did have some bigger days on just kind of random days, but 8.5 million would probably be about where they were at, and then they started doing half the amount of volume, which is where we're at right now. I keep saying 1 million shares or 100 million shares traded for us is a good day, and we're seeing half that volume. They had half that volume for 4 days in a row before they went back up to where they should have been. Had one more day of kind of medium-ish volume, and then boom, out of nowhere on the 13th, 144. That is so much larger. It's like 3 times larger than anything they were having before then. So if we saw 3 times larger than something we've seen before, then we've seen, I would say it'd be 3 times larger than 200 million. So 3 times 2. So we might end up seeing, like, you'll know this is popping off when you see 600 million shares, which is more than the total share count exists. So yeah, that's what we're looking for. So why are we having low volume right now? And I think that's because we're having those days right now. This is what it really feels like. I hate throwing dates. I'm not throwing dates out there, guys. I'm not telling you next week's a week for sure. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we're having significantly low volume, and there doesn't seem to be any reason for it. And there's some very unusual activity happening. There's just a lot of signs that are pointing towards something happening. It may end up being nothing. But day over day volume, we've had a 55, a 70, a 59, and today's going to be somewhere between 50 and 70 as well. That's going to be 4 days in a row. Which means Monday will probably be. So here's what I'd be looking at then. I mean, if it's going to follow the same exact pattern GME did, you'd see Monday end up being like 100 million shares traded ish, and then you'd see. I'm sorry, maybe 150 on Monday, back down to 100 on Tuesday, and then Wednesday would be the pop. Has anybody talked about Wednesday? Wednesday would be August the 4th. I think I've heard August 5th thrown out there. I don't know in regards to what. Currently, it's showing 342,000 shares have been returned this morning. We were at 26.7 thousand shares borrowed, so it's dropped. That's completely the opposite of what we were at yesterday. Yesterday it was 4.65 million shares borrowed. I had anticipated that our utilization would break over 90% easily. Day over day, our utilization is definitely up. We are at 91.63% currently, right here. And here's the share borrow change, and we are at 15.31% short share interest. Let's see if I can kind of get a heartbeat on what's going on here with the trends. I see a little bit of a pattern forming currently. This is like a sideways W. The George is getting sideways. Let me just see. This doesn't look like a parallel channel to me at all, but I'm just going to draw it just to see if it works. We'll just kind of call it this. I guess it could. We might have a parallel an ascending parallel channel forming. So let me draw this up a little bit better here. I'm gonna go with that. No, I'm not. Redraw again. Let's go at the bottom of these candlesticks. I think it looks better. And we'll go with the tops of these. So this is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times we've tested the 3873 level. Hopefully we can break through here. 3873 is what we're looking to break through. But there is definitely room to go down in price and still stay in the channel. But this is a bearish indicator, so when it breaks out, it will be going down. So hopefully, sometime between now and let's say 11:30 this morning, we should see, hopefully either movement through here or it'll be breaking out. If we don't move through that point of resistance, then we'll be breaking out down. So, Duncan is ready. I'm ready. I'm going to end the stream, retitle the stream, and we're going to have an interview. I'll restart the stream back up, and we're going to have an interview with Duncan, and we'll get to know Duncan a little bit as an admin of the channel, and get somebody who is not in North America's perspective on what's going on. So come on back in just a little bit here, and we'll have that interview with Duncan going. All right, guys. See you in just a bit.